Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's video is going to be a watch me work video. It's kind of an impromptu watch me work video. That's why I don't have any footage of me driving there, any intros, outros. That's why I'm filming that right now in my garage. It wasn't something I planned on filming, but once I got there and started doing the work, I realized I was going to be in rooms by myself. So I thought that'd be a good opportunity for me to try out my DJI camera some more, get some practice with it, and again, film some work. I know some of you like watching these, even though in my opinion, this is kind of mundane work, but again, I like watching videos like this on YouTube too, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. But what I'm about to show you is really only part of my day. Earlier in that day, I was working at my quadplex doing LVT, glue down flooring, putting down the glue, and then installing that flooring. I left from there, went over to this office space, and that's where they had two issues, or really just one issue and some extra work for me to do while I was there. So they had a light fixture that was 100% out. It was one of two within that room. 4 T8 bulbs, 100% no response, which typically tells you either that fixture doesn't have power, something's gone on with that, or the ballast is bad, because typically all 4 bulbs won't be like 100% out if it's a bulb issue. It could be, but typically it's going to be a ballast. This customer decided to go ahead and let me do a ballast bypass, remove the ballast, change it out to LED bulbs. So that's what you're going to see me do at the very beginning of this video. And then other than that, they had some office furniture that they wanted me to put together. So again, that's kind of the bonus for a company to use me, is they can call me for something like fixing their light, and then I can also assemble furniture and stuff for them. So I do a little bit of everything. That's the perk of kind of me for a commercial customer. That's why they choose me a lot of times. So it's a bonus for them. Keeps me busy, even though there's really probably nothing exciting watching someone put furniture together. So again, we're going to start out with the LED bypass. I'm wearing my Atlas vest, also my MP2X pouch in that part of the video. And then whenever I'm putting the furniture together, I just decided I was going to try to do everything with just my vest. So I didn't take my tool bag in, anything like that. I decided I was only going to use what's inside my vest, which was pretty much a Vera tool check, and then also my DeWalt, 8-volt gyroscopic screwdriver. So I just wanted to share that with you before we got into it, because again, I'm going to do voiceover over all the work footage, but you're going to see some stuff and I'm not going to be talking about it. You're not going to see me get out of my truck, all those kinds of things. But that's what we're going to end up doing: LED bypass or ballast bypass, and then put some furniture together. Let's go ahead and get into it. So in the space with the bad light, taking the cover off, you can see 4 T8 bulbs, none of them showing any life whatsoever. There is a light right next to me. That's what's actually lighting up this room. It's on the same switch. So again, I pretty much told them it's probably going to be a ballast. I'm going to go ahead and stop and pick up some LED bypass bulbs. And then once I take this cover off here in a minute, the ballast is super old. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert it. That's going to be cheaper for the customer in the long run. Did have a disconnect. I'm showing you here that it looks like one of the wires was like poking out. They didn't have it poked in there right. Taking my T6. So here's a very nice use for this. I can see that I've got 120 volts without having to take off that disconnect to touch the wire. Again, that field sense is super nice. So here I'm just going to disconnect all the wires from the ballast, saving the black and white wire. The other part of the disconnect, I'll reuse that. Once I'm done removing all the wires, I'm going to go ahead and remove the ballast just for the room. Sometimes I'll leave them in there, but all the labeling and everything was gone off this ballast. It's not going to help anybody that it stays in there. Stripping all the wires with my Knipex forged wire strippers. Those are the ones I keep in my MP2X. These tombstones were a nightmare. They just kept falling out on me. Here I'm using an inline fuse, so this might be something a lot of people don't do. I'm putting one of those in. So basically, in a bypass situation, sometimes somebody, if they're used to taking out the light bulbs with the power on, if your pins touch the metal, like if you pull one side out and then the pins of your light touch the metal, you can get an arc. And then also, if somebody put fluorescent bulbs back in here, it could cause a pretty big issue. So I put these in so that if somebody does either one of those things, it's going to blow this fuse. Again, stripping the rest of the wires. I'm taking the 2 yellow wires from one side of the light, putting those in a Wago with a neutral, and then I'm taking the other wires, the reds and the blues, putting that with the fuse into a Wago with the hot wire or the black wire from this fixture, getting all those wires put together. Once I have all the wires kind of put together, I'm turning on my Milwaukee Rover light, turning off the lights, and then I'm going to go up here and basically put the disconnect back together. But then again, I remembered that this wire was kind of a little bit poking out on this disconnect. I didn't like that, so I went ahead and pulled it out, and then I'm going to shave some off of it so that it's just sheathing sticking out of this disconnect and not some of that hot wire. So just trimming a little bit off. They had it a little bit too long. Pushing that back in. Now getting that hooked up. Once it's hooked up, it's a matter of getting all those wires tucked up inside of that trough. And then the biggest thing again on this one was keeping all those tombstones in there. So I've already got 2 of the lights put in. I put those on that back side. You can see those over there. And then now I'm going to install the other 2. These I picked up at Home Depot. They're the Feit electric 4-foots. They work on T8s or T12. And these are ballast bypass. So you have to do the work that I just did. You can't just put these in with the ballast the way that they're wired. These are also color selectable. I tend to buy those so that, especially like in a situation like this, where there's a light that's fluorescent light still in the room, I can kind of match the color with that one and make those 2 lights kind of stay the same. I had one bulb that didn't come on. I didn't really have it locked in place well. So there's those working. Now it's a matter of putting these warning stickers on here, and these pretty much say the same thing as what I just said about why I put the fuse in. It says basically, you know, don't put fluorescent bulbs back in here. It's been converted to an LED fixture, and that problems can come. Putting the cover on, and then we're just going to get our stuff cleaned up and get out of the room. So again, this is for the same customer, same building, different room. They had some office furniture they need to put together. I'm going to start out putting together 2 office chairs, and then there's going to be a conference table in a little bit, or really it's not, I wouldn't call it a conference table, but it's a bigger than normal type table. And it all has to fit in this room. I mean, this is a very tight squeeze in this little room. I have put together quite a bit of furniture in here, but this furniture is actually staying in here, so it made sense to put it together in here. As I always do with any kind of furniture, I take all the materials out of the box, out of the packaging, lay it all out, and then I start putting it together. And again, with this, I'm just trying to use the tools that are in my vest. I didn't bring in a tool bag or anything like that. Starting putting the base together. Using my regular mag mat to hold parts. You'll see that probably throughout the process. And then my Tool Check Plus has a lot of the metric hex keys in it. I mean, they came in there. I'm basically using that tool check as the bits that came in there. Putting them in my DeWalt screwdriver. I do learn that the bits don't really stay in there that well without a holder, so I end up getting out the Vera bit holder and putting that in the DeWalt and using that throughout the process. And I put 2 of these same exact chairs together. This one I kind of only keep at this speed. The next one I speed up quite a bit because it's the same process. But basically, again, putting the base together, putting all the legs on. Once you get all those on, I'm going to get them tight. Something else I always do, I typically go back and tighten everything after each step in case there's something that needs to move. Then you're going to go and put all the casters on. And then you're going to put in the hydraulic lift as far as for the seat adjustment, those kinds of things. Then I'm just, again, going through the process. I never use the tools that are provided, which this one's actually not too bad. They at least give you a T-handle. Most of these things just give you a really small Allen wrench that doesn't fit in half the places they want you to put together. So this one has adjustable arms. This one's a little bit different than most of them I put together, but it's got these little sleeves that you slide in, and then you put a bolt in there that allows that arm to basically be lifted up and down to be able to be used. Has two of those, a left and a right. Whenever I got it out of the packaging, two of them had an orange like strap color around them, and so I didn't look at the instruction or anything, but I figured that was for a reason, and they already kind of packaged them so you'd know which ones were left and right so you didn't mess it up. So that's what that was for. Now we got to put the arms on the back. That's what's the next step here. I always like it whenever I go somewhere and they've got like 5, 6, 7 of the same exact thing for me to put together. And if I had more room, like I would do both these chairs the same time, doing all these steps each time for both chairs, 3 chairs, 4 chairs, whatever it is. I just feel like that's faster for me, but again, I don't have the room inside this room to be able to do that, so that's why I'm kind of doing it this way. But what I was saying is, I like it when customers have 5, 6 of the same things, because once you do one of them, like, you get so much faster on the next one and the next one and the next one. Hooking the seat onto the armrest as well. Then the last step is to put on the thing that mounts your actual seat to that hydraulic cylinder. Same thing with these. I won't tighten them all the way. That way I can make sure all 4 line upright. Kind of get them almost snug. And then that way, after I get them all put in, I'll go back and snug them all up. That's pretty much, again, the case on most furniture I put together. That's really what the instructions say. Most of the time people don't do that. And for certain things you don't have to. But sometimes alignment becomes an issue if you tighten down something. So again, now putting the seat on, sitting on it, checking it out, making sure it's all pushed down right. So there's one seat down. Now we're going to get into the second one. I speed this one up quite a bit. I don't figure you really need to watch 2 of them get put together, the same exact chair. They're identical. So this is basically just the same process, sped up a little bit faster. Now that we're 2 chairs down, I'm going to start on the table. And again, I did the table last just because I knew it was going to take up the most room in this room. So even though I need more room to put it together, I would have had a really hard time putting those chairs together unless I put them together maybe on the table. Because you'll see at the end, once I get this table done, there's like 0 room left in this room. So same thing as on the chairs, getting all the stuff out, all the packaging off. I'm going to use one of the chair boxes to basically move all this packaging material over into, because I take all that stuff with me and get rid of it whenever the job's done. So I'm basically using that as a big trash can. So now that I've got all the parts out, I'm going to start looking through the instructions, see what I see about it. I do see here that it says it needs 2 people. I'm working by myself, so I guess I should go tell them, sorry, can't do this. But I'm going to attempt it anyways. So first step is to get the main frame for the table put together. And man, this thing, it takes some screws. I've never seen something take so many screws for such a smaller piece of furniture. So there's basically 2 ends and then 2 middle sections to get you to the right length. They always do this kind of stuff for packaging purposes so that it would fit in that smaller box. And then you've got these L brackets with pre-drilled holes. There's 4 of these. They line up on that frame where those joints are. And then you're going to take all 72 of these screws for these 4 L brackets. You'll see here how many screws actually go in to each L bracket. It's pretty crazy. Now that I'm finally getting to the end of this 72 screw marathon, looking at the next step, it's basically putting the top together. I don't have room to do that here, so I'm gonna have to move this frame out of my way, get the 2 boards out of this packaging right here, making sure I don't cut deep into this box and scratch this wood. And one nice thing I guess about this whole setup is like this wood top has a bunch of those screw inserts into it. It does make it kind of easy to put this frame to the wood top. You don't have to sit there and hit like pre-drilled holes and hope that you don't strip them out, you know, those kinds of things. It is kind of a little nice setup, but there is a certain side for each one, so I'm making sure I've got those right. It takes 3 wooden dowels. In a normal situation, depending upon how it's put together, I typically would put wood glue in those, but the way that this frame attaches, there's really no way for that to spread apart later. So putting the frame on, it gets attached with some bolts through the frame into the wood top in those screw inserts. Now that I've finished going back and tightening all those down, it's time to put the legs on. Each leg is a particular corner, like you have to put it in the right corner. They have those little white stickers that has a number on it, and then they get attached, whether it's either to the table or also the frame with like 10 screws a piece. And getting my big hands inside of some of those spots, and then also getting those screws to go all the way through the leg into the table or the rail. Sometimes that was a little bit tedious, so this is a little bit of a time-consuming process. And just like the L brackets, I mean, it's like, again, 10 screws probably in each leg. It takes a little bit of time. I also realized that my DeWalt screwdriver is not going to fit inside of a lot of those spots, so I got out the Vera little 1/4-inch ratchet out of the Vera bit check, because again, I'm using only the tools that are in my vest, and that's pretty much the only thing I had in my vest that was going to fit in these spots, but it actually worked out pretty nice. Once I finally get all those snugged up, tightened down, there's 2 more screws to put in that kind of ties the 2 legs together. So you put those in. I'm able to swap back to the screwdriver for that. And then the last step on this side over here is to get out the 2 adjustable feet. They're basically some threaded feet that you put in the end, so in case your floor is unlevel, I just go ahead and put them all the way up to the max. And then again, I'm going to basically swap sides, move all my stuff down here to the other side, repeat the process of what I just did. I'm going to speed up these 2 legs quite a bit because again, it's basically the same exact thing as what you just saw, just the other side of it. Finally got it all done, putting those 2 feet on this side, getting all my stuff out of the way. You can again see how small of a space I'm working in here. Can't even get out the door at the moment. Pulling off all the little white stickers that I can see before I flip it over, so I don't have to do it on my knees. And then I got to get this table flipped over somehow. I was a little bit worried how this was going to work. There's a couple more white stickers. Go ahead and get them off too. But I was able to eventually, I couldn't reach down and get my hand around it, but I was able to get it flipped up, flipped over. So there's what the table looks like you know, installed, put together, getting off that last sticker. But there it is in all its glory. But there you go, guys. There is just a little glimpse into my day. Again, it wasn't my entire day. I started out the day as a flooring installer, doing that glue down LVT, and then I moved over and transitioned into being an electrician to fix that light fixture, to, you know, bypass that bad ballast. Then I turned into a furniture installer, doing those 2 chairs and that conference table. And then I finished out my day going to another commercial customer and installing mini blinds. So lots of different things I did within that one particular day. That's typically how my day goes. And I may never do those things again for a few months. I might do them next week. My days are always 100% different. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to get myself into. And again, I can't always film things. I'm typically always around people. I'm around, you know, commercial customers and things like that. But this was an opportunity, so I wanted to try out my DJI, get some practice with that, and then also film some stuff for you guys. I wish I could do more of these. It just doesn't work out sometimes, but hopefully this video was interesting in some way. If you've got any questions, make sure and drop those down below. Or if you just want to leave a comment, like, or whatever you want to do that as well. As always, you guys stay safe, have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next video.